Is this sandwich place really that good, or is it just overhyped? Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. This is Montreal day 3. Last year we visited Montreal and we had such an amazing time. So in this episode today we'll dive into delicious sandwiches, poutine or Putin, let's talk about that later, bagels, murals, and beautiful neighborhoods. So let's start. It's finally time to try out the bus. So the bus here in Montreal is run by the STM, and here we're just waiting for bus number 125. We hopped on the bus and got ourselves tickets for $3.50 each. So in total, for the three of us, we spent $10.50. And in case you guys are wondering, yes, the tickets are valid for multiple uses within a window of 2 hours. So this is going to be our route today. Our next destination was going to be Schwartz's Deli. So we're taking the 125 and later on we'll need to switch over to 55, and the whole trip is going to take us about 40 something minutes. So here we're in the bus. I always find it interesting to use public transportation in other cities just to get an idea of what it's like, and I found that it's pretty clean here in the bus, even cleaner than in Toronto, or perhaps we were just lucky. So here we got off and hopped on again on the 55. And here we are, we're arriving at Schwartz's on Boulevard Saint Laurent at around 1:30 p.m. I really like to arrive at off hours, like after typical lunchtime, in the hopes that it will not be that crowded. But even close to 2 p.m. there was still a line in front of Schwartz's. Perhaps a lot of tourists like us, I guess. So I just hope it's gonna be worth the wait. And by the way, you guys watching have helped clarify a lot regarding pronunciation. So how do you pronounce this? I guess that most people in Canada would say Schwartz, like pronounce it the English way. But having grown up in Germany, I just spontaneously had to say Schwarzes. But please do let me know how those of you in Montreal actually pronounce the name of this deli. But in the meantime, I'll just go ahead with Schwartz's. And while waiting for our turn, let's just briefly look at the history of Schwartz's Deli. Schwartz's Deli has been serving the world's best smoked meat since 1928. Wow. It was founded in 28 by Reuben Schwartz, a Jewish immigrant from Romania. Okay, this is the important part. Schwartz's prepares smoked meat the old-fashioned way on location using a secret blend of locally produced fine herbs and spices marinated for 10 days. Wow. Smoked overnight, steamed all day, and sliced à la minute by hand with love. Our smoked meat contains no preservatives. That's actually a great plus, something I really appreciate. Waiting in line, and is it our turn? No, not yet, almost. One more. So while waiting, we're looking at this marvelous display of smoked meats here, and the anticipation is building. And it turns out that you can also shop for meat here for takeout. You can buy slices of smoked meat, brisket, salami, and even chicken. Finally our turn, and yes, we're really starving now. Oh, I love this place. I love how the menu looks, vintage, like from the 20s or 30s. The place is set up very practical and it is not pretentious at all. And these chairs over here really look like those that I remember from my grandfather's house. It's not something that you would call a nice looking restaurant, fancy looking restaurant in a conventional way at least, but that's usually where the best food is, right? Okay, first things first, let's zoom in on the menu here. Apart from sandwiches, you can also get chicken, rib steak, a liver steak even, but we decided to just go for the standard, the beginner's menu if you will, which is the smoked meat sandwich. And of course also a bunch of sides on the left there, coleslaw, pickles, and fries. Okay, let's talk about drinks. What kind of drinks do you get when eating these sandwiches? Initially, I was gonna go with coffee, but then the person taking our orders, who I think was not the waiter, it seemed like the owner, strongly recommended us to get this cherry Coke here. He said that if we got coffee, it would kind of alter the taste of the sandwich. It would give it kind of a different aftertaste. So he said that the sandwiches really go very well with this cherry Coke. And usually I'm not really much of a soda fan. I rarely drink soda, but this time I really do not regret it. I love this cherry Coke, I must say. I've been trying to find this cherry Coke here in Toronto, but I could not find it so far. So if any one of you watching right now can tell me where to get it, then please do me a favor and let me know in the comments below. So while waiting for our food, we just read through the articles here on the board, and interestingly, there was actually a film made covering this famous deli. Service was actually really fast. Just in a matter of minutes, our sides already arrived and they look so good. So this was the coleslaw, the pickles, and the fries. And later on, we actually got a second serving of coleslaw because it was just so yummy and refreshing. And finally, the sandwiches arrived and they looked so mouth-watering. And yeah, I must admit, it was 2 p.m. already and we were really hungry. So anything that we would have gotten at this point would have tasted better than it actually was. But to be fair, these were really great sandwiches. The meat was seasoned perfectly, it was juicy and not dry, and the bread was very, very fresh. But for me personally, the condiments were really important. I'm not sure if I would have enjoyed the sandwiches as much if I didn't have the pickles and that coleslaw. But anyways, we started digging into the food and it turned out that for me, it was a bit too much. I would be completely happy with just half of that sandwich, but never mind, the two guys, my brother and my husband, they were there to help and absorb the rest. So that was a very delicious and satisfying meal, and a very nice surprise also that if you pay cash, you get an additional 10% discount. For the three of us, we spent $65. It was time to move on because after this, we were going to head to the Murals. But before I continue, if you're enjoying this video so far, then please do me a favor and hit the like button. And in case you're new here to this channel, I make videos about living here in Canada, anything that I think might be useful for a newcomer to Canada or anyone who's planning to travel to Canada. So if that's something that interests you and you want to get more videos from me, then also make sure that you hit the subscribe button. So we started walking towards the Murals, but then I suddenly remembered that I really need some coffee now. So we got distracted and we walked into this coffee shop here called Edmond. So after grabbing our dose of coffee, we started finally walking towards the Murals, and it was just amazing. These murals are just wonderful. I mean, look at the level of effort and detail they put in, and each of these murals really looks different. Interestingly, this blog, Atlas Obscura, refers to the murals as a living museum, and the reason is that the murals change every year. So here it says that for a week every June, Montreal invites urban artists to set up shop on Saint Laurent Boulevard and take part in its mural festival. So from the cafe, we walked through and around the blocks looking at those different murals until we finally reached a street named Avenue Laval. From what I read, Avenue Laval is supposed to be a neighborhood with really stunning architecture. So let's see if that's actually the case. So walking around there, it was really a nice street. It was rather small and quiet. And yeah, each building looked really unique and it was really colorful. And I could imagine myself living there. Not here. I'm just wondering how much property prices are here in this area. From here, we were just strolling leisurely with no plan. It was very relaxing, and we kind of just followed the streets based on what we found was interesting. While walking, we also came across this church here. I think it's the Jean-Baptiste Church, and after looking it up, it was built in 1872. It looked really, really solid, a bit weathered, but really, really beautiful. So more murals here. And I was really amazed by the variety of images and the styles of the murals. So it was like a new surprise around each corner. And by chance, we arrived at this beautiful, spacious park, Parc Jean-Mars. And people were just hanging around here with friends, chatting, having a picnic, sunbathing. And I mean, in Toronto, they have these parks too, but it feels a bit different. In Toronto, it feels as though people come to a park as though it were an attraction. They just hang out in the park. But here in Montreal, I just feel that the people really blend in with the park. They become one with the park. Anyways, that was just my impression. So we just sat here on a bench and just enjoyed the view. So moving on, our next destination was going to be the market Jean Talon. So we just walked to the nearest metro station, which was the Montreal station. So walking and arriving at the metro and moving down to the platform. There were only 4 stations in between Montreal and Jean Talon Market. And it would take us about 10 minutes, including walking, to get there. And so far, I found it really, really convenient to get around with public transportation in Montreal. Although sometimes I think that walking or biking is even quicker. So in case you watched episode 1, then you'll know that we rented Bixi bikes, and that was really a great experience. And if you're wondering how you can rent those pixie bikes, then I will put the link to the video up here so you can check that out. So the train is arriving, and there we are at Jean Talon station. Signages are pretty clear. Here it says Marché Jean Talon, so turning right here, going up the stairs, and it's quite a large subway station actually. Here's also a map, and from there it was a very short walk to get to the market. So here we are at Marché Jean Talon, and just some quick facts about the Jean Talon market. It's situated in the heart of Little Italy, and it is one of the oldest public markets in Montreal. It was inaugurated in 1933. Jean Talon Market is open year-round. That it has many local fruit and vegetable growers, and it has a lot of small shopkeepers too. That's something I really noticed here. So by the time we arrived, it was already 5+ p.m. and unfortunately we forgot to check the opening hours, but actually we forgot to check the time at all. We didn't even look at the time and we were just enjoying ourselves so much. So we arrived there, it was 5 p.m. and we figured out that opening hours were actually from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. so it was about to close. And some stalls were already closed, but there was surprisingly still a lot going on. There was still a lot to see. Many people still walking around the market making last-minute purchases. And I really love visiting these markets. I really love to just see what they sell, the different things that they have, what things cost. And yes, my impression was also that there were many small farmers, and cost-wise, it seemed that it was not much of a difference compared to Toronto. On average, prices seemed quite similar. So at this market, you can easily get lost because there are so many choices, there are so many places to shop, there are so many stands, and it can take a while to compare prices, I guess. So here is this middle section that is covered. But then there are also shops and restaurants on the side. So they're all around the market and kind of framing the middle part. And the flower and plant section is also quite huge. A chocolate store, a cheese store. And there's also a section that's inside of a hall, kind of a huge warehouse structure. And inside there, you can find even more bakeries, some restaurants, shops. But honestly, at that time, we were just feeling so warm and we were so thirsty and we just wanted to find something really fresh to drink. So we walked into the hall looking for something that resembled juice. And there we found it. There was a juice stand right in the middle of the hall. And of course, a super long line. So immediately we started queuing while taking turns to go to the front and take a picture of the menu. So while waiting, my brother had a great idea. He went to this macaron stand. This pistachio one was just so delicious. I could eat a couple of them, but I didn't want to ruin dinner. Okay, finally it was our turn and we got our juice. And we got this detox juice here. It was a combination of mango and kale and mint, and it just looked so good. And yes, we were greedy. We decided to get 2 1-liter bottles, which we shared among the 3 of us. It was really worth it. It was so refreshing. So time to move on. There are more stores, some pastries, cookies, more flower stands, butchers, I think, a seafood shop. I really love getting seafood at a dedicated seafood store because usually the quality is much better and it's also fresher. Okay, there's also a taco stand here. And that was Marché Jean Talon, a very wonderful experience. So we walked out of the market and our plan was to explore Little Italy a bit. We were really tired, but before having dinner, we thought that we wanted to get some bagels to take home. So we did a little bit of research and found out that there were 2 bagel places that were really famous. One was Viateur Bagels and the other one Fairmont Bagels, and we just couldn't decide which one to go to, and in the end we decided just going to both. I know. So we walked from Jean Talon Market, exploring Little Italy. And here's a nice little entrance sign, Petite Italie. This is a really nice area and I could imagine having really good food here, but no, we were not here for Italian food, at least not this time. So we just quickly walked through this area. And then, by coincidence again, we came across this interesting skate park. And there were some people practicing their chops here, so we just sat there for a while and watched them. A really, really cool place. Okay, now moving on, walking to Saint-Viateur Bagel. So we walked a bit more while enjoying the neighborhood, and again came across another church. This time, this one here was St. Michael's and St. Anthony's Catholic Church. Also very impressive architecture. So we're almost there at Saint-Viateur Bagel. Interestingly, we found out that very close nearby was another Saint-Viateur Bagel. So we just decided to walk along and check out the next shop. And here we finally are, the second Saint-Viateur Bagel shop. And we went in, and there was a notice up front that said that this shop only accepted cash, which we luckily had with us. They had these huge flour sacks in front, and they were producing bagels non-stop. So we got our bagels and got out of there, now on the way to Fairmont Bagel. And I know in hindsight, I thought, wow, we spent a lot of time just looking and shopping for a few bagels. From a local's point of view, it must be really funny. What's the fuss about all these bagels, right? But anyways, we had time, so we wanted to check out the Fairmont Bagel anyway. It was close to 7 p.m. and again, we were very, very thirsty because it was so hot. And we came across this really unique hibiscus drink store. I had a lot of hibiscus tea as a child, or Hagebuttentee as we call it in Germany. But this tasted different. It tasted very, very good. This one tasted so fresh, or perhaps it was just the weather. Finally arriving at Fairmont Bagel. The shop looked really old, really ancient. It seemed to just had its 100-year anniversary. And we stepped in, and again we had to make our choice. Blueberry bagels, so what kind of bagels? So see here, they also have chocolate chip bagels and all dressed bagel, I think an everything bagel, an onion bagel, blueberry bagel. They also had smoked salmon, I think cream cheese, Philadelphia for sale, and some jams. We paid cash, we got ourselves a few bagels, and then we were out of there. Enough bagels for today. So no more walking for us. All of us were super tired because by that time we were walking for at least 3 or 4 hours. So we decided to take an Uber. Our next destination was going to be dinner, and we were going to have poutine or Poutine. From my research on the internet, it seems that the French say Poutine, but in Quebec you say Poutine. Is that correct or not? But in any case, I think most Canadians outside of Montreal who are non-French speaking say Poutine, so I will just continue saying Poutine until the end of this video, but please do let me know in the comments below how you actually pronounce it there. So we took an Uber to a poutine place called La Banquise, and it was so crowded. It was around 7:15, 7:20, and yeah, I hope we picked the right place. And yeah, by the way, please do let me know in the comments below, where can you actually get the best poutine in Montreal? Perhaps in some less central area, tucked away and less pricey? I would really love to know. But in any case, from our research, it seemed that this was a legit place. And yes, there were so many people queuing in front, and we had to wait for 15 minutes or so. Finally, it was our turn, and we went in, and it was really, really packed. But it was a really nice atmosphere, really colorful and relaxed place. It kind of feels like a place you would go to after you went clubbing or maybe for a late night snack. And indeed, they are actually open for 24 hours. So after getting ourselves some very well needed and deserved beers and water, it was time to look at the menu. So we had the choice of getting a regular or a large portion, which was about $5 to $6 more expensive. And at first we were so greedy and we thought that each of us just wanted to get our own portion, but then we came to our senses and we decided to get one large La Sud-Ouest and one regular Miam. And this looked just amazing. I just loved how many ingredients, how many toppings were on the poutine. So yes, the fries and the cheese were good, but all the other ingredients were also really, really yummy, and everything worked so well together. Personally, I found it very, very delicious. But still, despite being super hungry, we could not finish, and we had plenty of leftovers. And we decided to bring that back to our Airbnb and have it as our midnight snack. So the La Sud-Ouest had bacon, red onions, guacamole, onion rings, and chipotle sauce. And la miam had ground beef, sausage, onions, tomatoes, and Swiss cheese. So you can't go wrong with that, I guess. And in total, the three of us spent $69.42 here. And now we were super full, but before going home back to the Airbnb, we decided that we wanted to fetch a few more beers because of course we needed an accompaniment for our poutine later at night. And now we were smarter. We now knew where to get our beers, and we also got some fruit. So we made our selection and spent $22 on various items there, and we were out of there. So that was day 3, but what happened to the bagels? So we had the bagels for breakfast, which I thought would just be perfect, but we overheated them and they became a bit hard, but nevertheless they were still very delicious. So this one here was the Fairmont bagel, and this one here I think was the Viateur bagel, but honestly I couldn't really tell the difference. Like, you could switch out the bagels and I wouldn't be able to tell you which one was which. In any case, both bagels were very good. So what do I think of Montreal after spending 3 nights and 4 days there? I think it's a beautiful, charming city. There's so much to explore. I could stay there for a couple more days, and it has a much more laid-back vibe compared to Toronto. And I noticed that every corner, every building looked unique. There was nothing really uniform about the places in Montreal, and I really loved that. And I would absolutely go back there sometime. But it was time for us to move on, and our next destination was going to be the city of Kingston. So guys, if you want to know how that turned out, how it was like in Kingston, whether I liked it or not, then make sure that you're subscribed to this channel, and don't forget to hit the little notification bell so that YouTube will actually inform you once there is a new video from me. Until then, take care, enjoy the summer, and thank you so much for watching, guys. See you again soon. Bye.